The Everything Sequel Podcast is brought to you by the Everything Sequel Podcast. The Everything Sequel Podcast contains explicit language, and I will not go to my room. Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel Podcast. This is a Ghoulies edition. Today, we're ranking the Ghoulies films. My name is Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, the man trying to put me back in the toilet, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hello, Tom.
They're tough on the outside, but maybe they're soft on the inside. He describes that big cannibal ghoulie like it's some kind of demonic candy bar.
Yeah. That's the first thing you have to learn about the Ghoulies, is because it's kind of like Groove Tube. Like, if you say Ghoulies to me, the one thing I'll know is a green, bald ghoulie in a toilet, because that's what I know from the poster.
Yeah.
But then you don't realize that there are other kinds of Ghoulies in the world.
I'm so glad that this is where you started, because let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
What is a ghoulie?
Well, they vary greatly between the films.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen 3 of these fucking movies, and I'm none the wiser.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure the movies themselves know what a ghoulie is.
I don't think so either.
And as you say, that the inconsistency between the movies is staggering.
Yeah.
Because Ghoulies 2, you're led to believe that a ghoulie can be anything from a cat to a frog.
Yeah, right.
And then Ghoulies Go to College halves the creature design. And then, so just when you're kind of figuring out where you are in relation
Ghoulies
to the
4.
zoo, along comes Ghoulies 4, where the Ghoulies are essentially replaced by the goblins from Troll 2, as far as I can tell, to all intents and purposes. Couple of little people in Halloween masks.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's really, I had a moment at the beginning of Ghoulies 2. I don't know if you felt the same when Dr. No's geologist henchman came running into frame with a bag of ghoulies. I had a moment of panic where it was like an anxiety dream. It's like, I don't know what's coming out of that bag. Yeah. I'm out of my depth here. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for a Ghoulies movie. I don't know what the Ghoulies are.
So you should say like that.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what's in that bag. Is it alive? Is it dead? Is it a cat? Is it a frog? What is it?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because what a roller coaster ride it has been with the Ghoulies sequels. For starters, Ghoulies was your idea, right?
Okay. All right. So we're assigning blame now, are we?
No. Hang on. I'm not done yet. I am not done yet. So Ghoulies was your idea. I don't know when you first said it. It was, maybe a month ago.
Sure.
When you said Ghoulies, I thought to myself, what a great idea. This is very exciting. So much so, and you're going to yell at me because it is not implied in our mandate, but I happen to be...
Oh, no. You haven't watched the original. Tell me.
I happen to be shuffling around MGM Plus, and I see Ghoulies, and I got so excited that like a month ago I watched Ghoulies.
Oh, okay. That's fine. If you did that before you knew we were doing Ghoulies, that's not your fault.
Oh no, you had already mentioned Ghoulies by that point,
well,
so I'm an asshole.
Then you're a piece of shit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, I watched the first Ghoulies, and my first thought was, oh, I can't wait to blame Tom for all of this. This is not good. And so much so I wasn't looking forward to them, and I kept delaying watching them, and it was all your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Ghoulies 2.
Oh.
That I can only describe as what a treat.
Wow, okay.
And then I watch Ghoulies 3, and I think that's a one-time thing. That's
It's let's
nothing can go right with Ghoulies 3. And I watch Ghoulies 3 and I think to myself, well, I'm not sure how to rank these right now.
Oh, I still don't know how to rank them.
And then I put off watching Ghoulies 4 based
Big
solely
mistake.
on the box.
Big mistake.
Based solely
You need
on
to jump right in.
looking at the poster because I thought Ghoulies 4 will never match the ride I had with Ghoulies 2 and Ghoulies 3. And then I watched Ghoulies 4 and thought, I have no idea what to do with this series except to say that I think this series represents like what cinema should be now and isn't.
Oh, wow, okay.
I found myself
I can't wait to hear this argument.
I swear I know it doesn't make any sense.
No, it actually if it's what I think it is, then it does.
I found myself thinking about the idea that in today's film market, you can't just gather $1.5 million and make a piece of shit and hope for the best, and maybe people will go to the cinema and see it.
Yeah.
And I honestly think cinema is sorely missing these kinds of movies.
I completely agree with you with 100%.
I miss it.
I kept making notes along the lines of, you know, there are set pieces in these movies that, you know, a low or no budget movie would kill to have these kind of production values.
Yes. I mean, there's stuff I gotta say for each individual episode, but
yeah.
Well, let me just say, ending with Ghoulies 4, that I thought would absolutely be the worst of these movies, I found myself saying, I think there are people working today that don't film action as well as this director.
And by the way, it's a horrible movie. So let's put that in perspective here, okay? We're not going full Weekend of Bernie's 2 necessarily at this stage. But I agree with what you're saying. And I also feel bizarrely, given that I don't think this was necessarily the purpose of the movie, I think they do one-shot comedy extremely well in Ghoulies.
Yes. I thought the same thing.
There is some single shot gags that are kind of perfectly executed.
And also edits, kind of like the edits we were talking about with the Dollars trilogy.
Okay. All right. Let's.
I'm not saying it's on that level.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, you better not be.
I'm just saying somebody understands how to do that.
Yeah.
Even including the editor of this film. And people don't know how to do that anymore. So it was a delight to see it in what a lot of people might describe as a terrible movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to say that yet because I'm reserving judgment for good bad.
You know, horrible, I think, keeps your options open because I might be referring to tone, I might be referring to quality.
Right.
We won't know until we rank and declare. But the thought I had was specifically about, and this is where I thought you were going, about what a series like this says about sequel cinema that people don't, people who are
that
not
too
in
You're
a
right.
closet.
That was the second part. Yeah, that I wanted to get to. Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, the non-sequel podcasting world, which is kind of us plus, I don't know, like 100 people maybe max in the world. So minus 100 people, the world probably thinks that sequels are just kind of regurgitations of the original, and then, you know, regurgitations upon regurgitations. And
the Ghoulie sequels show you what you can do.
Absolutely. It's like, basically you get Ghoulies like you would in a fancy restaurant, 3 ways.
Yeah.
We get Ghoulies 3 ways, and that, you know, it's something that we've been saying about sequel cinema for a long time, that there's actually a remarkable sequels in a film series are more often than not, very different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, if you think about the Ghoulies series as being your kind of your common or garden,
Right.
horror comedy movie, then you get a sense of the mean here, right? It's like this
sure.
isn't like special Hollywood, special sequel cinema. This isn't something. This isn't high end sequel cinema by any means. It's somewhere in the middle. Well, it's not mainstream, but it's low budget, but some production value. So I see it as being somewhere in the middle of the industry. And even there, you can't take anything for granted as to what the next film's going to be.
No, right.
And it got to the point where I was kind of asking myself, do these movies need the Ghoulies?
Well, I certainly felt like that by the end.
I mean,
that last movie more than ever.
Ghoulies 4, they're like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. They have
no purpose.
They've got no connection to the main storyline.
No purpose or connection to that story whatsoever.
Just wandering the streets of LA, talking to sex workers, and
de-pantsing Miyagi, apartment handyman.
Yeah, I got something to say about him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the funniest note I've ever written associated with that guy. So yeah, I mean it's really telling when you get a series like this, which is kind of middle of the road, because it vindicates what you already think about sequel cinema.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Just having my own little moment there. Which, for the listeners, only Tom could see, because...
Yeah.
Why would Tom expect me to pick up my microphone and look at the back of it?
Well, I knew exactly what you were doing, yeah.
Yeah.
You were checking there wasn't a ghoulie behind there.
Yeah.
Not that you know what a ghoulie looks like, no, even after seeing
Why would I? Why would I?
Imagine trying to identify like a ghoulie. Imagine being a witness and saying, well, he was a ghoulie. What do you mean, the cat kind? The frog kind?
Yeah, right.
The little people with the Halloween masks?
So...
The toy version that is like 20% more Richard kind?
So that was another problem. Not problem, but another avenue of a wormhole for me to go down as I'm watching these movies, because at least one of those Ghoulies, when I look at it, it completely and totally looks like it must be my spirit animal.
Oh,
because
okay, I'll ask you the question: which Ghoulie are you?
I think it's plainly obvious. Which Ghoulie do you think I'm referring to?
Baby Ghoulie?
Which one's that? See, I don't even know what you're talking about.
We don't have a common frame of reference. You know what? About halfway through watching these sequels, I realized I think I was thinking of Critters.
Yeah. So after I watched,
I was like, I think I know what a critter is. I still don't have a clue what a ghoulie is.
When I was in the middle of that first movie that I shouldn't have been watching, one of my first thoughts was, Tom should have said Critters. Like, I'm mad at him that he's forced us to watch the Ghoulies when what we should be watching is Critters.
But we should hashtag we could have been watching Critters.
Yeah.
But the other fact is, the other reason that we're doing it after so long, because we talked about doing it before every time we get into a conversation, albeit initiated by me, about the Ghoulie on the toilet.
Yeah.
And I was shocked how toilet heavy the sequels are.
That sequel is certainly number 2, yeah.
I mean, it really is.
Three. Yeah. See, I can't even keep it straight.
I mean, you know, the showstopper moment of Ghoulies 2 is a toilet scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the third movie, the kind of Ghoulies and toilets are just synonymous.
Yeah, right.
And the fourth movie, I don't know, they come
It's
out of
its own thing.
They come out of paintings, mirrors. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Apparently, when you make a Faustian devil appear, they just appear in the wake of their disappearance.
Yes.
But toilet.
It's also...
But before we go further, Toilet Ghoulie
okay.
is my Ghoulie. That's the Ghoulie that
Well, I have questions about that Ghoulie specifically.
Oh, okay.
Because to me, that was my go-to Ghoulie. Right, that was what I thought all Ghoulies
That's
were.
what I thought all Ghoulies were. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I thought, and it's because
the Toilet Ghoulie.
It's because of the poster of the Ghoulie on the toilet.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that, you know, a few episodes ago we were talking about Andy Warhol, and now... and Roy Lichtenstein. Actually, we'll talk about Roy Lichtenstein again in this series.
Is that right?
Yes, we will. One of his paintings appears in one of these movies.
Oh, that's great. I didn't notice.
Yeah, so I have questions about that because I thought he was your kind of your median Ghoulie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Now, in the context of Ghoulies 2, I started to think: is he the baby Ghoulie? Is he baby Ghoulie? Is he Ghoulie Junior?
Hmm.
Is he the Julie of the gang?
Specifically, I hope I have this right. I think it's Ghoulies 2 that seems much more enamored
no spoilers
with Kitty Cat Ghoulie.
Cat Ghoulie features quite prominently.
Yeah. That seems
baby
like
Ghoulie
the Ghoulie at
like
the forefront.
So I was wondering, is it a baby Ghoulie? And then, you know, I was starting to just kind of rationalize.
It can't be. That Ghoulie is jacked.
Well, you've never seen a jacked baby before?
Not often, no. Not with such prominent nipples, too.
But the fact that the design they go with when the giant Ghoulie appears at the end of Ghoulies 2 is a large version of baby Ghoulie, threw off whatever rationalization I'd made, because now I have another basket of questions about what the giant Ghoulie is, and the fact that he's got the same physical makeup as baby Ghoulie.
Right. So my immediate thought on that one, without going too deep into that episode, is I thought that must have been the easiest Ghoulie to make big.
to put a bicycle pump up and just make it bigger. Yeah. I mean, yeah, because you can get a person in there, presumably, is the thinking. You can't get a person inside the alligator frog combo.
Yeah, when I see what you have dubbed Baby Ghoulie, and will refer to from now on as Baby Ghoulie.
We don't have to. We can call it Toilet Ghoulie. I mean, as long as we've got a common frame of reference.
Yeah. So whenever I see that Ghoulie, I think that that's how the world sees me. Most especially women. I think women look at me and see that Ghoulie specifically.
It's just, you know they say that if you're intimidated by someone, you imagine them on the toilet. Maybe that's it. Maybe you intimidate women with your sexual prowess so much that they have no choice but to reimagine you sitting on the toilet.
No. I'm
You don't know.
No, I know.
You think
no, I know.
You think you're going around. Listen. You're going around your daily life, going, that person's looking at me like I'm the Ghoulie. I'm the Ghoulie from the poster of Ghoulies with the Ghoulie on the toilet. So you have no idea how the world sees you.
Oh, I don't know.
That might be a turn on for some people as well. I don't know.
Well, he is jacked in a way that I'm not.
I don't appreciate the Ghoulies being turned on at any point in these movies.
Right. Yeah.
Because that makes me think about, what do the Ghoulies look like?
Ghoulies in college are horny Ghoulies.
Well,
that's a horny movie.
But this is the other point, that the premise of each of these sequels, the standalone premise is so strong in and of itself, it barely needs Ghoulies.
Right.
And pretty much all of them can be done all of these stories can be done sans Ghoulie.
Yeah, sure.
With a few slight tweaks here and there.
Here and there, a snippet here, a snippet there. Yeah.
There's plenty of other characters or groups of characters that you could kind of supplant onto the Ghoulies, and the story would essentially be the same. It's like those kind of theories about movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Goldfinger, that the heroes actually change nothing about what happens in the movie. I kind of feel that way about the Ghoulies in all of these sequels.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That if the Ghoulies never appeared, nothing would really happen differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
The carnival would still go into receivership.
I got a question.
Prank week would happen, and then it would happen again the next year. And the Faustian, what he's called Faust, isn't he?
Faust, yeah.
We're getting into the weeds here.
So that was the thing. I was about to say I wanted to ask you a question, but it feels more closely related to specifically Ghoulies 4, so maybe I should just hold off. But it encompasses...
I thought we'd have nothing to talk about, and I don't know where to... and frankly, I don't know where to start.
After or before watching the movies?
Right up to, again, it was the Schrodinger's cat moment, that big bag of Ghoulies. I was like, okay, this could go one of either ways. Either these movies will be, complete write-offs.
Yeah.
Where there'll be nothing to talk about, or they could be the most fascinating objet art.
I think they're fascinating.
That we've ever... Oh, I mean, they absolutely are.
I don't think I've laughed that much at 3 different movies in quite some time, frankly.
And you meant to say at, didn't you? That wasn't a slip of the tongue. Good, yeah. I'm happy to hear that. Unless we're talking about Ghoulies 4 and visual comedy, in which case I'm laughing with.
Yeah, true.
At least I think I'm laughing with.
Right.
To the best of my knowledge,
I'm not sure, but I do think.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to save my question till the episode, I think.
About... Oh, I think I know what your question is.
No.
Well, I was gonna briefly mention... Well, even if it's not, I was going to briefly mention the other huge difference between these movies is kind of the level of film stardom they represent.
That's the thing. That's the other thing I wanted to mention too. I'm glad you're bringing that up, because I was shocked to see that every single Ghoulies movie has people I know in them.
Well, so yeah, but I was surprised that the best known faces are in Ghoulies Goes to College.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought after Ghoulies 2, where the cast and crew are Italian. I was gonna say mainly, and then I thought about those credits. I was like, no, Italian. And I thought, well, we're just gonna get, not versions of famous actors throughout these 3 movies. But then Ghoulies Goes to College has, a veteran science fiction legend, legend.
Absolutely.
Plus some newer faces who have gone on to do some pretty prolific work.
Yeah, sure.
And then Ghoulies 4 has no recognizable faces unless...
You take off the mask of one of the Ghoulies.
And I'm assuming, and this is where I was hoping we were both going to be in blissful ignorance, but you're now not, some legacy actors from Ghoulies.
So I may as well ask my question now.
So I knew that was part of your question. And I didn't look it up. I just knew that it had to be the same actor.
Well, because they show flashbacks, right?
That's true. That's probably...
But
look at me giving myself credit for recognizing someone in a flashback.
That was my question, though, because honestly, the character he's playing in Ghoulies 4, he looks different with the shorter hair.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a different man. And I was wondering if you even recognized that was the same actor.
I recognize it was the same actor because that's what the movie was all about, except clearly they didn't know whether they were going to get this guy back. So they'd invented an entirely different character and then transplanted this actor and his previous role onto that. Because there's no way this guy can do everything he did in Ghoulies, that I only know because we're shown it in Ghoulies 4, and then become a cop.
And then become a police officer.
Yeah,
yes,
so
exactly.
basically, obviously they'd written a cop, they heard that this guy wanted to come back, and they're like, oh, we'll just make him the cop, and suspend disbelief that this man would now be on death row, basically. Rather than a plainclothes detective,
police officer
in
right.
the LAPD. Yes.
Well, I think the movie tries to cover it very well by him saying at least 4 times to his ex-girlfriend, "Look, it was a long time ago."
It was a long. It was what, 10 years? Is it? It's exactly 10 years.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So then you've got 1, maybe 2 legacy actors. No. Okay, just the one. Okay.
The girlfriend.
I was wondering
not
about
the girlfriend from the first movie. So all of that is new information.
Okay.
Ghoulies 4 is fucking insane.
It really is. It took me when part 4 takes you completely by surprise.
Yeah, right.
you have to even begrudgingly respect it.
At least a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, maybe even a lot. We'll see. Good
times. What a good time I had.
It sounded like you may have had a better time than me.
Oh, I was so hoping you had a better time.
I'm interested how this come down wave from Ghoulies has affected your viewing, because starting with Ghoulies 2, it's a bit of a slog.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't have the relief pumping through my veins that you seem to have.
Oh boy, did I!
Oh well, I'm interested. I'm interested to hear. But I'm sure we're about to broach the question of what we did with ranking, and I don't have an answer.
I still don't know. I can't decide on the criteria.
Yes, exactly. I think I came up with a criteria that just about works. But to give you a peek behind the curtain, right?
Yes.
Whenever we do a new series, I normally go over my notes a couple of times before we record.
Mm-hmm.
Refamiliarize myself with what happened in the movies and what I think about them. And for 2 of these movies, I read through my notes, and my ranking was different each time. I convinced myself of one ranking, and then the second time I looked through notes, I went, actually no, I could just as easily flip it. There's arguments in both camps, but you're absolutely right. There's no center to the ranking, is there?
No,
there's no fulcrum.
Like I said at the beginning, I watched Ghoulies 2, and then going into Ghoulies 3, my thought was, well, there's no way it can be as in quotes good as that.
Sure.
And then I watch Ghoulies 3 and think to myself, wait, is that the top of the list? Hang on a second. And then I think, well, it's just a battle between those two, because I don't even want to watch Ghoulies 4. That's how much I know that's going to suck. And then I watch Ghoulies 4 and say, hang on now a second. What's going on here?
Yeah.
The things that the movies are successful at are all different.
Oh, completely. And even the nature of the successes is different as well. So there's one of these movies that I think I appreciate its aptitude. And then there's another movie where the overall concept is what excites me.
Okay, yeah.
then another one is like it's fidelity to whatever the fuck Ghoulies is. It's assumed fidelity to what I expect.
I was gonna say, how would you know?
Could be. So it's not even a case of, as you say, they have different successes, but it's like you can't even compare the success. You can't even compare what they're successful in,
because it's also vastly different.
It's also vastly different, and it's about whether you're thinking of the gestalt, or you're thinking of individual moments or scenes.
Mm-hmm.
That changes from movie to movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I get, you know what? Part of it, part of my angst over trying to rank these movies, and I don't think this has really ever happened to me before in the history of this podcast. Usually there's at least one movie where I think to myself, well, I definitely am okay punishing that movie. Put that movie off to the side. That's the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
And then there's usually a movie I want to reward. Often there's a movie where I think, well, clearly that is tops, no problem. Now, obviously, in other series you have close shaves and you're unaware, but in this particular instance,
no preference.
I find myself not at all wanting to put up one of these movies at the bottom of my list.
Oh, or the top, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I no, that's I would, for different reasons, I think I might want to put all of them at the top.
All of them list. At the top. So this is your Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and I find myself lamenting having to choose two that will eventually put one of them at the bottom of my list.
There you go.
So
yeah,
there you have it.
I mean, in an ideal world, we just wouldn't rank at all, because there's no commonality between even the Ghoulies. So without we don't have the same Ghoulies in each movie, so we should think of them as separate fictional universes.
But I think what's weird is two of these
Ghoulie verses.
Yeah, two of these movies think they have the same Ghoulies, but they do not. Not really. I mean, they do in spirit, but
yes, but they make big changes.
Yeah.
One of them being speech, which
absolutely
is not something I think you can just kind of slip under the radar.
Yeah, slough off. And
you made a character who was non-verbal verbal. That's going to affect your movie.
Big difference.
If Michael Myers, suddenly became like the space chimps in The Simpsons, I don't think we'll be doing that.
That's the exact voice I thought of. Like, for some reason, I thought of Michael Myers as saying, "Now, there's no reason for you to run. You know I'm going to catch you."
Now, Dr. Loomis, do put that gun away. You look awfully silly waving it about. Yeah, well, I think I am I'm content to punish begrudgingly one of these movies. So right. for me it's between two for the top spot. Well, but for similar reasons to you, is that I keep going back and forth because they create their own value. They create their own value system. So you can't compare and contrast their value systems because they have an internal value system.
Yeah.
They're like it's like you're watching an anthology series, which, the only instead of Rod Serling, you've got the Ghoulies. It's the Twilight Zone, but you've got instead of Rod Serling introducing and ending each episode, the Ghoulies are kind of somewhere around in each episode. That's what it feels like to me. And then what the Ghoulies are will be different every time as well, but as long as they're referred to, actually that doesn't work either, because no one fucking calls them Ghoulies.
True.
Ghoulies, I think, is used once. It's said once in all three movies. It's normally demons.
Yeah.
Or do they say goblins?
No, I don't know if they say goblins. Ghouls, maybe.
Yeah.
Monsters?
Ghouls
Don't you hear
ghoulish,
monsters
maybe.
a couple of times?
But crucially not. And you have the key to this knowledge as to why they're called Ghoulies. I mean, I don't even know.
Cool.
I don't even know.
No, my extra homework provided me no insight.
Okay, that's great.
Just so you know.
But that's the thing. I spent the entire time going, "Oh, I wish I'd seen Ghoulies so I could put this all into context." And then I realized I've been doing this long enough to know now that I bet the original will not give me any insight into this.
The one thing I'll say, the only through line I catch is sort of the pentagram relation to Ghoulies.
Okay.
That seems to be their lock, stock, and barrel for all four movies.
Okay. That's our through line. Got
Yeah.
it. Interesting. Yeah, so I that's where I am.
Yeah, So it's between two of them for you.
For the top spot, yes.
Yeah, I think there's so hard. I feel like there's one movie that's kind of inching forward. It is.
I don't want to be the Matt Aldrich in our relationship, but is it?
I'm laboring. I value such different things for each movie, including some of their failures. Like, part of it is I adore the failures of some of these movies so much that it makes me like the movie more.
Oh, yeah. I think, to be perfectly honest, if you're going to entertain the notion of ranking, I think that has to be part of your criteria.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd all be in the trash bin, I think. Or, sorry, flushed down the toilet.
Yeah, right.
Well, do you have a criteria, or are you just going to call it on your gut instinct? How are you gonna? Because I think I've been able to systemize the ranking.
Yeah.
Which is to say that there's really not much between them. Although I do think two of these movies are better than the other. As far as I can tell.
You think?
I think, yeah. So that's my working theory. Is that two of these movies are slightly better than the other.
Oh, I'm fascinated.
Within that, my criteria is just to kind of go off which are better. I know this is a fool's errand. I know it's a fool's errand.
Okay.
Which of these are better Ghoulies movies? Like, in which movie do the Ghoulies dovetail with what's happening in the movie?
Right. Yeah.
And then, because then I can at least, I can sleep at night. Because I got plausible deniability. It's like I applied this logic and I came up with a ranking. All I'm sure of that I think two of these movies are slightly better than the other. Okay, so that's all I've got, and then within that, I'm going to apply this one rule, and then that's it, and then I'm going to walk away.
That's the rule I'm following.
Walk away.
Okay.
And never speak of it again until we do the episodes.
No, mine is far murkier than that. Like the values the value tests that I'm putting upon each movie are varied.
You're really in the green, foggy toilet water of
absolutely
of your own arguments here.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I just want to flat out ask you, which one do you have at the top of your list?
I think I'm going to go. Much as it pains me, because I feel like I could flip it and
I'm starting to feel more comfortable with what I'm going to put at the top of my list, and I'm just going to say that it's my reasons are my reasons.
Yeah.
I'm like a parent that is being questioned by a child that has no answers for the very logical good questions the child is asking. And I just say my reasons are my reasons, okay?
Or the current president.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I'm gonna say with regret. I'm gonna go Ghoulies 2.
Dang it.
That's what you did as well.
I was kind of hoping you'd be different. But you said something earlier about, I don't know, starting Ghoulies 2 and not warming up to it quick that made me think you were going to go in another direction, but
it might be
at first glance of Ghoulies 2, I thought it would be both of our favorites because it's got nostalgia traps for both of us, like
Sure,
stop
yes.
motion and actual puppets and
I thought you were talking about the nostalgia for like 1930s creature cinema.
well, that too. I think it evokes those things far easier than the other movies, and that's actually that was my criteria for that movie. That's why it's at the top of my list.
But it's fragmented and uneven in a way that Ghoulies Goes to College isn't.
Yes, true.
And that's what I'm talking when I talk about overall concept.
Mm-hmm.
And letting, sort of basically assigning a genre to your movie and then just rolling with it.
Yeah, sure.
Which, as you know, in our discussions of the Star Wars movies, I'm very fond of. It's like, space western. Make it a space heist movie.
Yeah.
A Ghoulies college movie.
Yeah, right. They sit in the college realm.
Yeah.
Completely and totally.
Well,
and that's what they wanted to do. And
they're there. They're there in the college realm. I wouldn't say they fit there at all, but they're there.
No, I'm just saying that's what they did completely and totally. They just stayed at college.
They had no sense that the Ghoulies didn't belong in this movie.
Right. Right.
They made the movie as if this was the logical extrapolation of Ghoulies 2.
Of Ghoulies 2, right. Which is nonsense, but
which is nonsense, especially as you have to go back in time 20 years to make your new story happen. And basically kind of prequelize and retcon at the same time, but that's a discussion for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I like about what do I admire about Ghoulies 2? It's craft.
Yeah.
And that might have something to do with it being an Italian movie. You know what I don't like about Ghoulies 2? Its lack of craft. Cuts both ways. The movie has it's uneven.
Oh yeah. You could say that about all of these movies, of course.
No, but Ghoulies 2, literally, you could make an argument about one aspect of filmmaking, and you could say entirely the opposite about it, and both statements
in one breath.
Yeah. You could be like, there's something really interesting going on with the sound in the movie. Or you could say, this movie has a
what doesn't work? The sound.
A microphone placement problem.
Yeah.
The microphone is in the wrong place throughout this movie.
I guess the part where I certainly don't want to use the word admired, but
I did.
There was a point where something happened where I recognized in the writing something that would happen later. And it was one of those things where I said to myself, oh, I know what they're going to do, and that makes sense. That gives a character an arc.
A character who needs no arc.
No, of course not. It's
nor
not
were
your
they
main
thinking
character.
Nor were they thinking that the character needed an arc. They just needed an ending to their movie.
Yeah. So it made me think that at least somebody put some thought into this movie, and
likewise with
kind of
there's some
tick up
camera
for
work
me
too.
Yeah,
there's some camera work too that shows that it's a lot more thoughtful than again you expect a movie of this ilk to be, or that a movie of this ilk would be now.
Yeah, sure.
And that's definitely that's worthy of admiration. Yeah, and if we're I think going by my ranking system, that you might have a problem if you took the Ghoulies out of this story.
Might.
You might.
Yeah.
It'd be harder to work around than it would be in the other two movies.
Correct.
So that's why it's at the top.
But they are still inside of that haunted house, and something else could run amok.
Never appearing with humans.
Yeah, right.
Never in the same shot as another human being.
Nope.
You could literally
always shot, reverse shot.
Yeah. You could delete them from the movies, and then and also the entire movie's dubbed because it's Italian.
Mm-hmm.
So you could technically, whatever you decided to replace the Ghoulies with, you could just ADR it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, if they were like Spaniards. There are Spaniards in the haunted house, right? There, it's like whatever you decide to replace them with, this movie could figure it out because you're doing all your sound.
Whatever racist trope you wanted to put into your Italian movie, you could.
Dominicans. I don't know what. Right. Like what? Oh no, Dominicans. And I suppose there is something about. I don't like. I've got nothing to compare this to. I don't know how seriously we're supposed to take the Ghoulies as a threat.
Yeah, right.
But the only time I felt they were a serious threat in any of these movies was in this movie.
Yeah,
and I think, as someone who appreciates horror, this is the movie that comes closest to my idea of what horror could be. And weirdly, I think that is where Ghoulies Goes to College kind of shits the bed a little bit. Is that it doesn't have a firm enough handle. It's got the kind of the foundations of a great horror comedy. Sure. But it has no idea how to execute it with to make a Gremlins.
Yeah, there's that, and then they also, that movie seems hung up on the idea of rules, but they're rules they're playing hard and fast with themselves. They're just making up on the spot for that one movie.
Yeah.
So,
and you really could have replaced because given that most of the movie revolves around the Three's Company style misunderstanding that the Ghoulies are Gamma House.
Yeah.
Fucking around with the other frat house.
Yeah.
At some point you're like, well, they kind of could be Gamma House.
Yeah.
And the story and the outcome wouldn't really change.
And it wouldn't change, right.
So that's why it's second on my list.
Well, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's because I think... Yeah, I think one is better... One is... The Ghoulies are more integral to one, and it's somewhat better executed, although I appreciate what Ghoulies Goes to College is doing much, much more.
Yeah, I think that's how I felt when I started watching Ghoulies 3, which I didn't expect much of. Again, like moments of just sort of howling with laughter at the choices they're making, including the talking. I really couldn't make sense of, one, them making that choice, two, what I thought of it. Did I like it or dislike it?
Yeah.
Because the talking doesn't add much, but I guess I just like the boldness of how stupid it was.
Boldness is what it's all about, and the fact that it's a full-throated frat boy college movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Much of that movie feels like Homer Goes to College.
Right down to the crusty old dean.
Crusty old dean, yes.
Except our crusty old dean is Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
the most famous paranoiac in science fiction cinema.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm I guess pleased to report that we think alike, but sad to report that we have no differences.
I thought you were gonna. I really thought you were gonna put Ghoulies 4.
Ghoulies 4
higher.
Is way closer to Ghoulies 3, I think, for me than for you. because you said 2 are
Slightly.
far better.
No,
the thing is you're not wrong about that. Like they are far and away better, but there's
so listen. I don't want to stop you, but there's an argument that Ghoulies 4 is a greater achievement than both of those movies.
That's my point. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So the thing that at the end of the day, the thing that
but it's a horrible movie.
Yeah,
it's just
the thing.
I mean, it won't that it could. It's one of those movies, and we've seen these sequels before. At any moment, it can become soft porn, and you wouldn't notice.
Hang on, well, first of all, yes, that entire movie is shot like a porno movie. But
completely.
I have more to say on that later. We have to wait till the episode.
Okay.
You're gonna be delighted. Okay. Now,
I know that. Yeah, the whatever his apartment's a porn set. Of course it is.
So.
Of course, I knew that without doing the research.
But there's something about that movie. The reason it's at the bottom of the list at the end of the day is the Ghoulies are the least important thing in the entire movie.
And they're not Ghoulies.
So you can't, and they're not Ghoulies. You can't call your movie Ghoulies 4 and then have non-Ghoulies playing a non-important thing in your story and have your movie jump to the top of my list. But, and there's always a but.
Quite a lot of them, especially in Ghoulies Goes to College.
That movie's inept. Yeah, there's butts all over the place.
You think as a self-confessed ass man, I'd be more excited, but it really didn't do it for me.
As a boobs man, I couldn't believe that there were no tits in this clearly on a porno set made movie.
Right.
Ghoulies 4.
I'd say there's too much time spent in convenience stores to get tits in.
The only thing I know for sure is that there's always time to dodge bullets behind the next aisle of the grocery store or convenience mart.
It's an 84-minute movie. About 50 of those are inside convenience stores.
Oh, but that's the thing about that movie is that its ineptitudes I really reveled in. Like, I was so delighted by the things that were bad in that movie. I enjoyed them thoroughly in a way that I haven't for a bad movie in quite a while. I really had a good time. And I just, from the very first moments when the Chinese star hits ahead, I thought, wow, you're really setting a tone. Yeah. There's so much murder in that opening scene.
Yes.
And yet I'm laughing. I'm laughing out loud at all the dead security guards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like an Ed Wood movie on cocaine.
Yes, exactly.
I don't think that was his particular vice. I think he was more of an alcohol.
I think he was an alcohol man, but if he only knew what cocaine could do for him, he could have made a Ghoulies 4.
If he'd lived until the 80s, it's pretty safe bet we'd have got Ed Wood's Scarface.
Oh, I'm almost lamenting how long I have to wait to talk about that movie with you, so I could talk about that movie's director. But
Ghoulies 4.
Yeah, wait, you will have to wait.
Oh, well, sir. I did no research into any of the directors.
Of course not.
Except
no cheating. Don't you look. No cheating.
Except what we already knew about one of the directors.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's been in our life before via the Friday the 13th series. And tangentially through the Troll series. If
Troll?
You can call it
Can you imagine?
I think so. I mean, it is, it's... And it, the Ghoulies 4 also reminded me of the Troll 2 situation.
Totally.
In that these are clearly goblins. And I'm not saying it's as clear cut as, because we don't even, going right back to the beginning of this episode, I don't know what a Ghoulie is. Okay, so I don't know what my point of comparison is. But I know this ain't a Ghoulie.
Yeah,
but I also am not entirely confident enough to call it a goblin or a troll or a...
No,
or, God forbid, an elf, a leprechaun, I don't know.
Yeah, made all the more uncomfortable because you know that there are little people inside that costume, so you don't want to be calling them goblins and shit.
Yeah, the credit. This is right. This you'll have to wait even longer time for this. But in my credit check for Ghoulies 4, I'm going to talk about how these two actors are credited, and
I even have credit checks for Ghoulies 4.
As well, you should.
Oh man,
let's share the wealth. I mean, I can't catch everything.
You know what's funny about that movie is that the IMDb notes
Uh-huh.
said that the reason they went to people dressed up in costumes was because they just didn't have money in the budget to create or get or maintain or whatever the puppets. And I thought, you put a lot of money on that screen into shit blowing up and wrecking cars. You couldn't hold back a little bit and make yourself a puppet?
And given that, you'd think that they'd be on screen the entire movie.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Given that all you have to do is put a mask on a little person.
Mm-hmm.
There are no practical effects concerns. So why are they only in 15%
Still,
of
they're
this
struggling
movie?
to insert them into this story of a cop.
So again, I think there are a lot of unanswered questions, and as usual, I think embezzlement is involved.
Absolutely, I had big time embezzlement vibes for all of these movies.
At Cinetel Films.
I can't wait for our next episode to go to Money Corner. Very excited to tell you.
I'm very excited too. I also think, am I right in thinking 3 different production companies made these movies as well, which would also help explain the variation between them?
I think so.
Cinetel Films for Ghoulies 4, Lightning Pictures for Ghoulies Goes to College.
Lightning Pictures, but they also had that complete, obvious now logo for Lionsgate.
Don't be stepping on my logo notes. Come on.
I didn't appreciate that one bit. But I have, for Ghoulies 2, I have MGM.
Well, that's inaccurate. Unless MGM stands for Meatball Grotto Meatball.
Well, granted, but I watched it on MGM Plus, so they might have just attached their.
Well, it's an entirely Italian-based production.
All right.
So yeah, I mean MGM probably distributed it, but they didn't have anything to do with making it.
Yeah, right.
And if they did, they're hiring a lot of illegal Italian immigrant labor, according to the credits.
All right, so we have the same ranking. We're both going 1, 2, 3 in order, or 2, 3, 4 rather in order.
Yeah, and it seems like you've already given away that you wouldn't put Ghoulies at the top of this list anyway. So I'm fascinated when we finally get around to watching it for Patreon. I wonder what we'll pair it with.
True. Critters.
Well, Critters has a reboot though.
It does?
Yeah, Critters has a reboot. Another reason why we should have been doing that instead of Ghoulies.
You really blew it.
I had 2 Gremlinsploitation series to pick from. At least we're not doing the Munchies.
Yeah.
Okay? That's it. Hashtag we could be watching Critters. Hashtag at least we're not watching the Munchies. Well, there you go. We've got our hashtags for this episode all sorted. No, I think it's even middle. I think it's even middle of the road in terms of Gremlinsploitation movies. This is the mean of
absolutely
of cinema? Question mark?
Well, that's what it's funny because it's the movie that comes out later, because Ghoulies 2 is 87, or it's not till we get to the 90s, right? 91 for Goes to College?
Yeah, 1991, I think. I think it's 90.
But it's funny that's the movie that seems like they really want to lean into the Gremlins as far as the talking and
totally,
that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean they rip off entire set pieces.
Yeah,
from Gremlins in that movie. Yeah, Ghoulies. That's we got some interesting questions to face about what the tone of Ghoulies 2 is, because there's times when I feel like they're taking it entirely too seriously. Like some of it is like scenes from Falcon Crest or something. I'm like, let's
that huge close up on the faces.
Yeah.
During the I don't like heights scene.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
So
that's what you're supposed to do when you have great actors with great material.
And in that sense, Ghoulies Goes to College is a relief. It's quite literally light relief from some of the heaviness of Ghoulies 2.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why
it's this cross between Homer Goes to College and Revenge of the Nerds.
and Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's for this might be a series where the ranking is redundant because it's the experience of going the roller coaster of going through these movies is what makes it an interesting series.
Mm-hmm.
Not the individual movies themselves. It's the fact that they set out to do entirely the opposite from what they just did.
So different.
And not just in the usual ways where we're like, okay, now this is somber, so we'll do a comedy. But also just this sort of like,
right.
Hey, the Ghoulies were Ghoulies, now they're goblins. Deal with it.
Deal with that shit.
So
you fucking donkey. We don't care.
I want to hear from you first on quality, because you've made me second guess myself a little bit.
So when I first watched them, there was this part of me that just thought, okay, so you have to either blanket they're all good or they're all bad. There's no in between.
I don't think that's incorrect.
But then I thought, no, I think one of them, like, the only reason I even gravitate towards it, like I said, is because its ineptitude and badness I just really like, but it's still ineptitude and badness.
Yeah.
So I think the other two kind of outdistance themselves from it in terms of quality made.
Well, there we agree. But I don't know. My question is that distance far enough?
Yeah. So here's my problem.
To constitute.
Here's my real problem.
Good.
My real problem was that all three of these movies individually very much gave me Omen 4 vibes. In the sense of, that was a Canadian made-for-TV movie that just should absolutely not work.
Wait, all of them?
Yeah, well, just in one aspect. In the sense of...
Oh, okay. All right.
I really thought that this was going to be the biggest waste of 4.5 hours of my life, and it wasn't that. I had such a good time watching these movies.
Is that an accurate number? 4.5 hours?
Are they all about an hour and a half?
Oh my god, it felt much longer than that. To me. That's Once Upon a Time in America. That's Once Upon a Time in America.
So the thing about
Lawrence of Arabia and a cartoon.
Yeah, the thing about Ghoulies 4 is I think it's only an hour and 24 minutes, and there's at least 2 flashback scenes that are...
Oh, they are padding from the moment...
Yeah, and so moment, I know that there was somebody in a room that said, this thing's only an hour and 18 fucking minutes long. Yeah. They were like, well, we can put in some scenes from the first Ghoulies, and that gets us, with credits, to like an hour and 24 minutes, and we can call it a movie.
I guarantee that a direction that was given in that movie was walk slower.
Talk slower.
Talk slower, walk slower. 84. They just had 84 on a like a chalkboard. 84 is the golden number, everyone. 84. 84 gets a Cadillac. 82 gets a set of steak knives.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's below that, we can't release the movie. It's
We're
not a
fired.
feature.
Oh.
Oh, can't talk about David Mamet anymore. He believes the 2020 election was stolen.
Yeah, for fuck's sake.
How? I mean, how?
No tangents. We've been fairly tangent free.
How? How badly do you?
And
have...
you're gonna go on.
How badly do you have to lose an argument that Bill Maher is right? Bill Maher is telling you the truth about something. We give a lot of play to that fucking podcast. That Drugs Are Cool podcast.
Yeah. Oh, well, you do. You're the one that
That's
mentions
true. I should say this is the problem. Is like, you know, I gravitate towards these artists who just end up being fascists, but my algorithm is forever stained. Because there's nowhere on fucking Facebook, on social media I could type, I don't like this person anymore, they turned out to be a fascist.
They were weird.
Yes. Stop sending me information about Morrissey's context, he is a fascist. I mean, there's no way you can do that.
Oh, boy. All right. Back on track. Are any of these movies good?
My instinct is no.
Mm-hmm.
But intellectually, I don't want to punish them for their...
Being bad?
No, I think for their genuine creativity.
Yeah, I know.
It feels punitive.
That's the thing. At least two of them feel like...
They're hard-going watches, at least for me.
No, they weren't hard watches for me.
They did not go down easy.
Oh, they went down so easy for me.
There was a lot of acid reflux in my viewings.
Not at all.
But I never once, respected their right to exist.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Throughout this, and I was just like, as Ghoulies Goes to College, what an amazing idea. This is not that, but what an amazing idea.
At the end of the day, I found myself saying, I wanted to stick up for these movies.
Yeah,
but I don't think even I am crazy enough to call these movies good. Any of them.
You know what the headline's going to be after this, the morning after this episode is released, right? Baby Ghoulie disowns on franchise. It'll just be like a picture of, like a doctored picture of you looking like Batboy from the Weekly World News, sitting on a toilet with the thumbs down.
Wait till I send you the pictures.
Oh wow! Yes, of course. Of course, you well, the audience will know you will have made yourself Baby Ghoulie. I dread to think which monstrosity you've made.
I've only completed 2 of them.
Okay. I will request. I don't know.
No, you can make no requests unless you want to make a request on 4.
No, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not going to say out loud what they're called in the credits until we get there. And even then, I don't. And even then, I don't feel comfortable saying it.
Don't feel comfortable saying it out loud
because I know who's inside. I know who's inside one of those masks.
Yeah. I feel regretful saying this out loud.
Yeah.
But I'm going to call all 3 of these movies bad.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way around it. I think ranking is a different question. Because, like I say, each of these movies have their own internal value system that makes it hard to compare across them. But we know what quality looks like.
Yeah,
and it ain't
not this.
I mean, if I could cherry pick moments from these movies.
Yeah.
I would absolutely say that they nailed certain scenes, certain moments. But I can't say all told as movies they ever reach a level of consistent quality now.
Yeah. You're right.
But that's it's sort of redundant, really, because it makes them no less interesting.
Yeah.
And like as we both said, in different ways, there should be more Ghoulies in this world,
Right.
and fewer, I don't know, Annabelle movies. I don't know, or fewer
IP cinema.
Well, sure. I mean, if you want to eliminate a whole genre, cool. But
Yeah.
not that I want a Ghoulies reboot or anything like that.
No,
I just want the
of...
approach. I want the approach where they're just like,
yeah, exactly.
Look, let's find a way to. We made these creatures, or we put two guys in masks. Let's go out and make a movie.
We still have the masks.
I mean, it's bordering on guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
And it has that kind of that. See, this is a comparison that's going to irritate people, but the same when you watch a movie like El Mariachi. It has this kind of mania to, or like the Coen Brothers, like a Blood Simple or something. It has this kind of mania to it, which is has a lot to do with it being a low budget movie.
Right.
The Evil Dead. Evil Dead's probably the best example. And there's just
I feel like that when I watch Shallow Grave too.
Yeah, there's a kind of madness about it, which is partly the people making it going mad, because they have the amount of ideas they have is inverse to the amount of money they have. And it just kind of explodes onto screen, and all these movies feel that way. So it's what I want there to be a niche for in movies.
Have you watched Talk to Me yet?
Oh yeah, phenomenal.
It's good, right? I was just listening to the two directors, and they were talking to Brett Goldstein, and they were trying to go studio system route for that movie, but they kept wanting to change the story. They're like, well, what about if the next time they touch the monkey paw, they're in a graveyard? Let's up it. And they're like, no, I don't think they'd go to a graveyard, So they just decided to make it themselves. And they always wanted that actor, the woman, whose name I can't remember right now, but because she's an African American, they said they immediately lost $1 million of their budget. And they were gonna shoot for 8 weeks. They ended up shooting that whole film in like 5 weeks for about half the money that they had raised, or were going to, told they were going to get. And the next thing you know, you have this movie that looks like a $10 million movie. I mean, it's incredible.
The sequel is about to come out, but 28 days later as well.
Yeah, right.
And obviously that is a higher level of filmmaking, but at the same time, in terms of production values, they're working with minimal budgets, and there's a kind of they're like little fever dream movies.
Yeah.
And all of these conform to that, even though, they're mercenary commercial cash grabs. And yet they're made with the abandon of, experimental cinema.
What I like about them is, they're experimental. They are movies that feel as though they are directed by people who think they are the next auteur director.
Certainly Ghoulies 2 feels that way.
Yeah.
I never get that sense about Ghoulies Goes to College. I just think they're just trying to get the feel right.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually thinking, let's make a lowest common denominator frat house movie.
Sure.
Like, purposefully. Like,
and add Ghoulies.
Let's not complicate anything, right? This shouldn't feel like, it shouldn't even be as complex as Animal House. Or, Back to School. It should have none of that nuance.
Yeah, none of the nuance of Back to School. That's great. All right. Well, we've ranked and we've declared. That's it. Anything left for you?
No. I think, given that I basically said on 2 different occasions this episode is redundant this time. We should get into the nitty-gritty.
Absolutely.
Down into the toilet of these movies.
They have no choice.
Yeah.
That's where they live.
And they just keep getting deeper and deeper into the toilet. By the 4th movie, they're in the sewer system.
Yes, right.
It goes toilet, septic tank.
With Art Carney for some reason?
That's not really Art Carney.
No, but...
It's so funny. Well, we'll get there, but I have pretty much exactly the same note. I was like, why is this sewer full of vaudeville-style, mid-century looking comedians?
I have more to say on that.
Yeah.
So...
Is it the LA you knew when you lived there? Were you living there around that time?
Yeah.
Oh my god! So basically, Ghoulies 4 is set in your.
Oh no! Wait, because that's 94, right?
94, yeah.
No, yeah, that's I'm in Long Beach, so I'm not quite there yet. I was moving my way towards it.
One convenience store at a time.
Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to tell us what you think of the Ghoulie sequels. Have you seen the Ghoulie sequels?
No. The answer to that is no. No one has.
Go watch the Ghoulie sequels and then tell us what you think.
If they did, there'd be a common frame of reference out there about what a Ghoulie is.
A toad-like bodybuilder crawling out of a toilet.
That turns out it's just one of them.
Yeah.
The Ghoulie, basically, the Ghoulies are what happens when you refuse to decide on a design, I think.
Absolutely.
It's the consequences of that lack of a decision. Is the Ghoulies.
Well, you have homework to do, and then you can come back, tell us what you...
It'll only take you 4.5 hours. Just skip your monthly viewing of Once Upon a Time in America, and
you can get all these movies in.
And you can just fast forward through the bits of Ghoulies 4 that are just Ghoulies.
Oh yeah, it's the least important part of the story.
Sure, but.
Well, do that, then come back and tell us what you think. Find us where you find us on all the things, and the X's, and the books, and the grams, and the threads.
And the skies.
The skis.
Mm-hmm.
Skies. Are we giving in?
We're giving into the English language?
Yeah.
I generally do. Not always, but as a rule.
Oh, I felt like you were on my side for a while there.
I mean, I don't know. I never know where I stand with you because, you give me grief about not correcting you on emu. And then you want me to humor you. By the way, you want me to humor you when you... Oh.
Because I know I said that on this podcast, but you responded to that as though it had happened to us before when it hadn't. Because that happened on the How Dare You podcast with Chew.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was supposed to listen to a podcast that I'm not on.
Yeah.
And get in touch to say, hey, what kind of?
But you made it sound like I had done it before on this podcast.
You've been saying emu for. I did. I mentally. Kind of
you Mandela affected.
Mandela affected, yeah, that's the word. I forgot. I Mandela affected what a Mandela effect was. Okay, yeah, I forgot that was the origin of it.
Yeah, it was the Van Helsing episode.
Interesting.
I got Highlander like memories of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. Okay, or send an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com.
We always get lost in this little. It's like a little Bermuda Triangle, yeah. right in the middle of the social media rundown. The number of times the gaps between
I can never get to the email
or send us an email. What happens in between that is unpredictable and often lengthy.
Bluesky, I says.
Bluesky, I says. Duck, I says.
All right, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. When you hear us next, we will be talking Ghoulies 2. Say goodbye to everybody, Tom.
One of those weird things like Clinton getting elected. Go figure.
So topical in that movie.
Not that they want to date the movie at all.
No, yeah. Gave yourself a bit of a shelf life, did you?
Yeah. It speaks to my operational theory about this movie that what it was really going for was it wanted to kill at the cast and crew premiere. It just was like just as many in-jokes as you can think of, anything we were talking to when the about when the camera stopped rolling, just throw it in. I want it when the friends and family arrive, I want it to kill. This is not for general audiences. This is for people who worked on the movie, their friends and their families.
And that's it.
People who live within the greater Los Angeles County area.
All right. That's it.
Yep.
We'll be back. Thanks for listening. I'm very excited. Very excited to talk about all these movies.
I've already forgotten what music you're listening to.
Big time. Are they all different, or is it just one song for them all?
Yeah, there's no definable for the Ghoulies.
No.
There's not even We're the Ghoulies, which was the Munchies thing. I don't know about the Critters. Did the Critters have a song?
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Someday. We should be finding out now, Tom, but we're not.
I'm like the dad who gets the off-brand products for the kids' Christmas presents. This isn't a G.I. Joe. This is a B.I. foe. What? It is the same. It's the same. It's the same
He's
shit.
got
Okay.
Kung Fu grip.
It's got Kung Fu grip. He's just a Ken with a mustache.
All right, more of this witty banter coming at you for Ghoulies 2. We'll be back.
Did you know that the Everything Sequel podcast has a sequel? It's our Patreon, and for a low monthly donation, you can get up to 2 exclusive, full-length, ad-free bonus episodes. $5 a month gets you an episode discussing all the original movies from the series we've covered on the podcast. And that's a lot of snakeheads. But $10 a month scores you the reboot to boot. Support Everything Sequel on Patreon and reap the benefits of amazing brand new content you quite literally can't get anywhere else. Got more money than sense? We also offer one-time payments that will get you in the driver's seat of the podcast. Maybe even the passenger seat. That metaphor doesn't work, but our show does. So join the Patreon and believe the hype. It's a sequel.